whispers in the hallway. The house had always been too quiet. When Eleanor moved back home to care for her sick mother, she found herself surrounded by silence so heavy it almost breathed. Every night, the ticking of the clock sounded like footsteps. Every shadow stretched too far. The old hallway lights flickered as if trying to stay awake with her. Her mother, once proud and sharp-tongued, now lay confined to her bed. The illness had dulled her memory, leaving her trapped somewhere between confusion and regret. Sometimes she recognized Eleanor. Sometimes she didn't. "Don't go out after dark," her mother mumbled one night, half asleep. "They don't like it when you walk the hallway." Eleanor smiled softly, brushing her mother's hair back. "Who doesn't like it, Mum?" Her mother's eyes fluttered open, cloudy and distant. "The ones who whisper." Eleanor froze. "What?" But her mother had already drifted off again. That night, Eleanor woke to the faint sound of voices, soft, almost like a breeze moving through walls. She sat up in bed, heart pounding. It was past midnight. The house was still except for that whispering, faint and rhythmic, coming from the hallway. She tiptoed out, her bare feet cold against the wooden floorboards. The sound was clearer now. It came from just beyond the turn, near her mother's door. She reached the end of the hall. "Hello." The whispering stopped. She stood there in the dark, the silence pressing in on her chest. Finally, she shook her head and whispered, "Get a grip, Ellie," before turning back to her room. As she closed the door, she could have sworn she heard someone whisper her name. Days passed. The whispers returned, always late, always near her mother's door. She started leaving the hall light on, but it made no difference. Some nights she heard crying, other nights laughter. Once, when she crept close to the door, she heard two distinct voices, a man and a woman. "You shouldn't have told her," the man hissed. "She was bound to find out," the woman replied. "Not like this." Eleanor flung open the door. The room was empty except for her mother, asleep and muttering in her dreams. The next morning, her mother seemed oddly alert. "You heard them, didn't you?" she asked over breakfast. Eleanor's spoon froze midway to her mouth. "Heard who?" "The ones in the hall. They talk when the house remembers." Eleanor swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" Her mother's gaze wandered toward the hallway. "Not all memories fade with time, darling. Some stay, some wait." That evening, Eleanor searched the old attic. Dust coated the air like fog. Boxes marked family records were stacked against the far wall. Inside one, she found brittle letters tied with ribbon, her mother's handwriting, addressed to a man named Edward. Eleanor frowned. Her father's name was Martin. She read one of the letters. "My dearest Edward, I can't keep living like this. Martin suspects, and I fear what he might do. But I can't stay away from you. You are my peace, my freedom. If anything happens to me, promise you'll take care of Ellie." Eleanor dropped the letter, her pulse roaring in her ears. She grabbed another, the writing more frantic, the ink smudged. "He knows. God help us both." A loud thump echoed from below. Eleanor froze. Then came the whisper, closer than ever. "Find the truth, Ellie, but don't dig too deep." She rushed downstairs, heart hammering. The house seemed darker than usual, the air colder. Her mother's room was empty. "Mum," she called, her voice trembling. The whispering grew louder now, curling round her like smoke. She followed it down the hall, toward the old cellar door. She hadn't been there in years. Her hand shook as she turned the knob. The cellar smelled of earth and iron. The whispers swirled in the corners. Her phone light cut through the dark, revealing 2 sets of footprints in the dust. Hers and another, smaller pair. At the far end of the room, she saw something glinting beneath a sheet. She pulled it back and screamed. 2 skeletons, side by side, a man and a woman. A silver locket hung from one of the necks. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a photo. Her mother, younger, smiling beside a man who was not her father. The whispering surged, rising like wind through stone. Eleanor stumbled back. "Mum," she cried, "what did you do?" A soft voice answered behind her. "What I had to." She turned. Her mother stood there, pale and trembling. "They wouldn't stop," her mother whispered. "He wanted to take you. I couldn't let him." Eleanor stared, horror dawning. "You killed them." Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "They wouldn't have kept you safe. I did this for you." The whispers rose into a chorus, angry, sorrowful, relentless. The lights flickered. Her mother's hand reached for her. "Eleanor, please." The bulbs shattered. Everything went black. When the police arrived the next morning, they found Eleanor sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the hallway. Her mother's bed upstairs was empty again. When asked what had happened, Eleanor said only, "The house remembers." As she was led away, an officer paused at the hall. A faint whisper drifted from the shadows. "You shouldn't have told her." The lights flickered, and somewhere deep in the walls, the house began to whisper again.